Hey everyone, it's your homegirl Jenny Lee with VRA Realty. Welcome back to another episode of Good to Know in Chester County, your inside scoop on local businesses that make Chester County feel like home. And today we are shining a light on A Child's Life, a nonprofit organization here to help any children that goes through trauma. And we have the founder, Leslie Holt, and the VP of the board, Jackie Hamer. Welcome.
Thanks
so much for having us. We're so excited to be here.
Yeah, I could not wait to have you guys on. When I learned about it through Jackie, I guess maybe 6 months to a year ago, I just think it's phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
But, for anyone listening right now who doesn't know about it, why don't you guys share with us, all the details and maybe how you got started?
Sure.
So you were just talking about COVID. A Child's Life became operational probably 2 weeks before COVID kicked in for real. So I spent a lot of time in front of my computer, sometimes 12 hours a day, with my PJ pants on and a nice shirt, doing Zoom calls. But so I was, let me just tell you a little history on me. So I was a victim's advocate for 5 years.
Okay.
So I was... It was a double-edged sword. So I got to see kids going through horrible trauma, and then the aftercare for kids that had experienced these horrible situations just pretty much drops off, because really no one agency can be expected to do everything.
Yeah.
You can't be everything for everybody.
Yep.
And so, there are agencies that are there and do an incredible job in the acute phase. But what happens to these kids afterwards? And if there isn't any follow through, these are the kids, unfortunately, that begin to fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
And so those were the kids that I recognized in my previous position, and those were the kids that I really wanted to be able to help. And so A Child's Life happened, and so we have funded and placed over 200 kids now in Chester County to get mental health treatment. And it's not all just sit down and talk to a therapist. It's also, we send kids to do whatever the modality of treatment we think will be, we and the parents, the caregivers, that we think will most benefit the kids. So if that means reaching them through art therapy, through equine therapy, music, somatic therapy, meaning like yoga, or we have one of our therapists, it's amazing what he does. He boxes with the kids. So he doesn't like knock anyone out,
but it's helping a child, I'm assuming, just like let it out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because they're holding a lot in.
And the kids absolutely love it. But we have over 100 therapists now in our provider network, and that's because they're incredible people. Yeah. And I called them and said, will you partner with us? Yeah. And I've only had one therapist say no, and that's because she said, Leslie, I would love to do it, but I already have too many pro bono cases. But what we do is we work with them on sliding scale. We endeavor to keep these kids in long-term treatment, and that means a year. And every time they go see their therapist, it's the same therapist. They're not seeing, a different one after a few months because they've moved on or anything. And these are private, trauma-informed. They have to be trauma-informed. Private, seasoned therapists.
Wow, so you really went through a lot to really make sure that these kids were with the right people. And You really put a lot into making sure that these kids are with the right therapist. And I mean, that's incredible.
Well, the thing is, Jenny, it's so important for them to, because a lot of these kids, this is their first experience, or sometimes, unfortunately, their second experience with talking to a therapist.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't go well, they're not going to engage.
Yep.
There won't be the follow through. It'll be hard to keep them in therapy. So having the same therapist who is, as soon as they walk into the session, they're on the same page. And, it is very, it's personal to me, because these families, these parents and caregivers are coming to a Child's Light when they are desperate. I mean, when I tell people, yes, we'll be more than happy to work with your family.
Yeah.
95% of the time, these people burst into tears because they've been through this horrible, arduous journey of trying to get mental health treatment for their kids. And so I want to make sure that the therapists that their kids are seeing are someone that I would send my child or my grandkids to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would think, for some of the people listening, understanding, well, what is so important about therapy? Why do these kids even, why is it important to get them therapy right away? Won't they grow out of it, or, those kinds of things? Because some people feel that way. Oh, they'll just move past it, right? But what most people don't understand is trauma is a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug to alcohol addiction, to drug abuse, and suicide.
Yep.
And so, in fact, individuals, these kids who've experienced abuse several times, which in these cases, it could be a relative that's initiating the abuse or whatever, and this does happen, they're 46 more times likely to engage in drug use. And not just smoking weed, I'm talking intravenous drug use. And 35% of these kids, in addition to that, participate in self-harm.
Yeah.
And then 21% of these kids have severe depression linked back to these experiences.
Yep.
So what we are doing is preventing them from having this downward spiral down the road. So that's why what we do is so important in getting to these kids so much more quickly. And then even more importantly is to think about the relationship between drug and alcohol abuse and suicide, when 75% of suicide victims have substances in their body, whether it's alcohol, drugs.
Yeah.
So
impacted with all the other stuff going on.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, is really saving lives.
Yeah.
It's very imperative in the work that Leslie does here at A Child's Light. And that's why, for me, when I heard her story and what she was doing, I knew I had to be part of this and help this organization in any way, because if you can shift someone's direction in their life, you change their whole trajectory. And we've seen that at A Child's Light with some of the kids we've been able to help, from failing and not wanting to go to school to graduating college and becoming, this huge success.
Something that they probably never thought in a million years.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. You guys are literally shifting. I mean, I've dealt with some stuff personally as a child, and, it doesn't go away.
No.
And it takes a long time, and this is a great step. And that was just beautiful what you said, because I do truly feel like I did not think you can get past it. You do not see yourself successful or being confident or any of that.
Right.
Unless you have the right tools.
Yeah. And, being confident and self-worth is a huge factor in all of this as well, because think about how your self-worth plays into your future. And I know a lot of us struggle with it on the day-to-day. I struggle with it every day, my self-worth and my confidence. even at 52. But like just being able to know that you have value and worth outside of what has happened to you is huge. So getting that therapy is just helping them on the right path on so many levels.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not that you probably could take on any more, but I am curious. Do you guys focus just on Chester County, or do you go outside of that area?
Well, we have had a few cases, but we do have therapists in Lancaster, in Delaware, in Montgomery County, and in Berks County.
Okay.
So that if it's easier for families to get the kids to to get them to the appointments, that's the main thing. So if they have to drive to Delaware County, that's easier than we have, therapists that. Okay. But we've had a couple of cases that, have been outside of the county, but because we're located in Chester County and we're getting funding through different grants in Chester County, I feel like that's the appropriate thing to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but just anybody listening, I mean, it's nice to know.
I mean, there's no reason why the business model for a Child's Light is so simple that it can be replicated, and it should, nationwide. This is a scalable charity, and I know that those two, scalable and charity, don't normally go together. But this is so easy. It's so efficient. It costs, just to give you another statistic. Yeah. So in Chester County, it costs $33,000 to house someone in Chester County Prison. We can change a child's life with keeping them in therapy for a year for, say, maybe tops $3,000. That seems like money well spent to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so.
So I look at a Child's Light really as a prevention program.
Yeah.
Because it prevents them from having contact with law enforcement.
Yeah.
It prevents them from self-abuse. It prevents them from self-medicating.
Yep.
And it keeps them in school. And we say that these are all the things that we want kids to do, but then when they need the help, it's not there. We have kids who are in high school who reach out and say, I want to get therapy. My parents are under the influence. They can't help me. I'm couch surfing. I go to school during the day. I have a part-time job. And can I get therapy through a Child's Light? These kids, they know that they need the help. But so many of our kids either don't have just private insurance, or there's a limit to how many sessions that they have. Yeah. And our kids know that they can settle down, that they can take their time, and they can really focus on their healing.
Not have to worry about all that.
Right.
So I have two questions, and I'm losing my train of thought because I'm just focused on like everything that you're sharing. But one statement is, I'm so grateful that over time therapy is more accepted, and people are more comfortable. It's 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was weird, or like, oh, you're only going to get therapy because X, Y, and Z. So I commend these kids in high school, doing it on their own and being that courageous. But I'm just so thankful that it is more welcomed now. And but speaking of high school kids, right? It's called A Child's Light. So what if there's a kid in high school and he's 17, almost 18, technically an adult? Like, when do you stop? Like, what would happen in that frame of time with a student, almost an adult?
We have a few kids that are 17 and just about to be 18. Yeah. And if if they're committed and they're going to their sessions, I honestly, I don't have the heart to say to them, and I won't, because if those kids are working that hard, they deserve that space. So, we'll continue to fund them. And we work with kids ages 2 through 18.
Okay.
Not because we want to work with 2-year-olds, because unfortunately, And when I was a victim's advocate, yes, there are kids that are sexually abused that young. And but if we get them into therapy, it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's and that's the thing. I want these kids to have the best experience with their therapy going in, so that at a time later on in their lives, when they want to, they can go, oh, I remember when I was 15 and I was seeing that therapist, I felt really good.
Yeah.
Now I have my own insurance. I'm going to go back to therapy again.
Yeah.
And so, and to normalize it, and you're right, the stigma has diminished somewhat, and in most communities. But then there are certain cultural communities that it still exists, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we're making inroads into that. So
that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just want to touch back again on the types of therapy, because some I knew, some I didn't. And I just think if you can just share a little bit more about that, it blew me away. It's not just sitting there with a professional, just talking. There's so many different ways. And I just want to see, can you just go into that a little bit more again? Okay.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to, because this is how I met Jackie too. I was doing a presentation to 100 women of Downingtown, and the 2 organizations that went before A Child's Light were amazing. They had great audio, video, the whole thing. Kids talking in the background, adorable. So I roll up with 4 slides, but the story of this one little girl. And so this little girl had gone into foster care when she was like 5, 6 years old. And when we were introduced to her, she was about 16 and a half, almost 17.
Okay.
And so she'd been in foster care that whole time.
Okay.
All kinds of trauma, besides just being in foster care.
Yeah.
And so her guardian ad litem reached out to me, and she said, okay, here's the situation. She told me her backstory, and she said, but she refuses to go talk to a therapist. But she says what she will do is equine therapy. And the guardian ad litem laughed a little bit, and she said, because she knows that the county won't pay for that. Because she had been in the system for so long, she knew what they would and would not tolerate. Wow. So she said, okay, I'll do equine therapy. And so that's really how it began, because I thought, if this little girl is this smart, that's how smart she is. And we're not going to let her fail. Yeah. So she committed to going every Saturday, and it was a 10-month program.
Okay.
And it really is crafted for kids that have been in the foster care system.
Okay.
And so she went to this equine camp, and it's called the Stable Moments Program. Okay. It's amazing. But she would go every Saturday. Okay. She never missed one of her sessions. And so but when she first started, she was not doing well. She wasn't going to school. She was being naughty, really misbehaving. Mm-hmm. And the foster parents were kind of like, oh, 18 can't get here soon enough,
Yeah.
But here she is, 16 years old, and thinking at 18 she's going to be out. Who wouldn't be in a panic?
Right.
And scared to pieces. So anyway, 3 months into the program, She's back in school. Of course, her grades are good because she's smart.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 months in, she had gotten a job, still keeping her grades up, a part-time job. 9 months in, now she's joined ROTC. Whoever saw that coming? And by the time she graduated the program, the Stable Moments program, she was applying for colleges, and she got accepted. And
it just gives me goosebumps.
I know.
Like,
I think I haven't not.
you know what?
goosebumps
But here's
all
the
time.
thing, Jenny. Here's the thing. So that little girl, let's face it, at that point, at 16 and a half, she's circling the drain, okay? A Child's Light invested, I think, $2,900 in her doing that program. How much did that save the county and the state?
Yeah.
and how did that impact her life overall?
Yes.
Exactly.
You know,
Yes.
from, you know, who knows after the, you know, that's a big issue is when kids are in foster care, once they're 18, if they don't have a good head on their shoulders, then they end up down a, you know, not healthy path and sometimes homeless. So, you know, this made such a big pivot in her life for such a small investment.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get to as many kids as we can?
Yeah.
Is my question.
Yeah.
You know, how do we, like Leslie says, this is so easily scalable. You know, can we get funding for an app? Like, how do we make this, you know, so that mental health is a priority for all of these children? You know,
Well, hopefully there's a lot of people listening right now because that's all. I just want everyone to know. I want people to know who are struggling that, you know, any child, like this is an option. But also I want other people to know who are like, I'm trying not to cry, touched just as much as me, that want to be able to help. I just think it's so incredible what you guys do.
what Leslie does. She has such good relationships with all of these therapists, and she's constantly adding new therapists to the network. She is like an angel for these kids, I have to say. And, you know, the quicker you can get children into therapy, the better. And if you've ever tried to even hire a therapist yourself or for your children, you know how horrible the timeline is, like how hard it is to get in with any therapist.
Yep.
And Leslie has such a good relationship with these therapists that these kids are able to get in right away.
Yeah.
And that is such a huge deal. That makes a even bigger impact because they're going to have 60% more success being able to get in right away.
Yeah. So let's take that back a step. For anyone listening, any adult listening that might slightly suspect some sort of something going on or not at all. Like, do you have anything to share with them, like some signs that would be like, okay, I think I got to reach out to Leslie or Jackie. You know, I got to reach out to a Child's Light.
I think that anytime kids start showing behaviors that are out of the norm.
Yep.
So if it's a child who's usually very gregarious, now they're not. Of course, any self-harm, because that is it's so easy for kids to hide that.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, parents never want to be too nosy, but you have to. And the thing is, you have to be alert to it because here's another statistic: only 12% of kids who are sexually abused will ever disclose. So what happens to the rest of those kids? They're the ones who end up in quote unquote trouble.
Yeah.
And so they do surface, but they surface with a problem.
Yeah.
And by then they've been living with it for years. I used to, when I was a victim's advocate, one of the first things that I did was I was working in the prevention and education department. And so I would go to this outpatient facility and just go and talk to people, to first a group of kids under 18 just talk to them about healthy boundaries. And then I would leave that room and I would go down the hall a little bit and have this same discussion changed a little bit with adults. And those adults were carrying those childhood traumas with them their whole lives. And many of them were court ordered to be in the facility because of substance use and or mental health issues.
Sure.
That all because it wasn't addressed when they were children or from the first sign. And here's the other thing that is really important is that even 10 years ago, being a trauma-informed therapist, that was something that was kind of, new agey sort of. Now that's the way every therapist, actually that's the way every person should look at every other person. But it's especially important for these kids that are showing these behaviors. And so if a therapist looks at a child, not why are you doing this, but what was done to you?
Yeah.
It changes the whole conversation.
Turns it all the way around.
Yes. And immediately the child
exhales.
Right.
Probably.
Right.
And I think there's also too an opportunity for policemen, judges, to notice these kids that have this unruly behavior, that are stealing, into drugs, doing all these things, to find the root of the cause.
Yeah.
Does it stem from trauma? Can we get them into some counseling and some therapy? And could it change the trajectory of their life?
Yeah.
Like Leslie was saying, about the girl with equine therapy. Like, instead of her going down a path of going to jail, she went to a path of going to ROTC and going to college.
Yeah.
It's just one little pivot of a year in therapy, and it makes all of the difference.
Yeah.
And that's power of what we're doing here at the Child's Light.
I mean, you are not kidding. You are literally saving lives. I mean, it's...
And not for a lot of money. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We're not talking 10, 20 grand for a year. We're talking a couple $1,000s.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to tell you. So we did, a police officer reached out to me. He was on a phone call with a bunch of different county organizations, and someone that I work with a lot had mentioned a Child's Light on this phone call. And so he reached out to me and he said, hey, listen, I wonder if you would do kind of a little pilot program with our department. He said, we have this little girl. She's 12 years old. We don't want to charge a 12-year-old.
Yeah,
And really, really great guy. And he said, so listen, what we were thinking is, could a Child's Light fund her to do 12 sessions with one of your therapists? And then at the end of this, she'll get some kind of little diploma that says that she did it.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, absolutely. These are the kids. This is the first step to get them.
That guy deserves
Yes.
something.
Like, thinking bigger
he's
than
wonderful.
here's a problem kid.
Yep.
Well, what's caused this kid to be the problem?
I feel like...
we're all innately good people.
Right.
We don't come out of the wound with,
Right.
I feel like the majority of people who have had a pretty healthy life, it's so different from people who have maybe gone through something, because I'm so empathetic and a little bit more forgiving of a situation just because I've been through some certain things that
Right.
it's like something happens and it's not good. I am literally looking at that person and I am like, where is this stemming from?
Right.
Like,
Right. There you go.
What's going on. So I'm so glad he came up with that.
Yes.
And how long ago was that? Has this continued or like?
No. So she did her, she had a lot of family trauma, all sorts of dysfunction. Mm-hmm. She did the 12 visits. I made sure that the therapist that she saw actually had juvenile probation experience.
Okay.
And so as soon as they got together, they were totally on the same page. So he could kind of illuminate what her future could hold if she continued on this path. And she did the 12 sessions, and she has not had any contact with law enforcement again. So, and that was 12 sessions.
Yeah.
You know, so you can imagine in a year, these kids are getting lifelong skills.
Right.
So, you know, as judges are seeing these teens before them, instead of just saying you're on probation, it should be you're on probation and you also have to do required therapy.
Yeah.
Like there should be more than just like we're punishing you.
Yeah.
Let's also, okay, yeah, you should have consequences for your crimes, but also let's try to make sure, like, get you on a better path. Let's get you healthy. Let's
not see you here again.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, let's do something about it.
And they do. You know, they have drug court. But drug court, that does not, you're not getting mental health treatment. You're abstaining. And so unless you get to the genesis of why someone has chosen drug usage as their solution to their pain, maybe instead of, you know, incarcerating them, maybe you try that first, you know.
Well, I'd like to say something real quick.
Sure.
Maybe you guys might have something to do with the future of that, changing that mindset. I mean, you already connected with this police officer, you know, he had this great idea, you guys, you know, and just sharing things like this, I think will make a big difference.
Well, I have to say, I think that with my experience with the judges in Chester County, knock wood, they definitely look at things through a trauma-informed perspective. I think that Chester County the judges that we have are pretty amazing.
Yeah. A little more open-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. It certainly makes it a little bit.
And, you know, there's a lot of female judges. Not to say that the male judges are not as equally great. But I think having a lot of female judges, just like having a lot of female people in law enforcement, it brings a different flavor, a different outlook, and more a little bit maybe more nurturing. So I think that and you know, and that bleeds over into everything else too.
Yeah. Unless there's something else you want to share, I'm going to kind of change it a little bit. Okay. So, curious if you guys could use more help. You know, are there silly questions?
Yes, please. Do you want the short list or the long list?
You know, so if anybody's listening and they're like, I want to help, you know, but I can't give them $1 million, can I volunteer?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then what would some volunteering look like?
So right now we're always doing this. So, I mean, it's as simple as coming to the office, sitting there, filling out envelopes to be sent out to homes in Chester County. It's eating too many donuts and just laughing and having too much fun. Yeah. So that usually goes on once a month. And then we have table events too. Yeah. So, you know, manning a table for a few hours.
Okay.
And just handing out brochures to people so that they know.
Yeah. That's huge.
And we also are starting to have a little bit more events to invite the community in. Like we just did our first walk this year. We called it the Steps of Light. Okay. And so, you know, it was really beautiful. A lot of people came out. You know, we always need volunteers. The more opportunity that we have with knowing that volunteers are available, the more we can be like, oh, this isn't all on us, because, you know, basically a Child's Light is Leslie and the board, and we are working boards. So everything that's happening is because of the actions of, you know, a few people. So the more help that we can get, I mean, even volunteer therapists would be great, you know.
Yeah.
But it's as simple as, you know, just showing up. You know,
I think the whole concept here too, with you sharing earlier about you have 100 therapists or there was only one out of that, like, that couldn't do it. I mean, I think that speaks volumes.
I know. And you know what? And the truth is, after COVID, the wait list to even get an intake to see a therapist was 2 years.
Yeah.
By that time, and anyone will tell you, any professional will tell you, 2 years, you've lost that child.
Oh, yeah.
So thank God it's not that anymore. But even still, you know, when a child is in that kind of pain, that psychological pain, even a week is too long.
Yeah.
And so, but to go back to Jackie's point, you know, the more people that get involved and know about a child's light, maybe it will move the needle on how kids are better taken care of psychologically in Chester County. Do you know right now, here's another statistic, which is you're going to be stunned. So a group called Children's First out of Philadelphia, they do reports on every county. And Chester County, I should have brought the book, but the report that they did, and the title of the report was something, and this is not verbatim. Chester County, 10 years stalled, meaning things are not changing in the county. And so in their report, they say that 23,000 kids are in need of mental health support. Nobody. There is no one agency we all have to help these kids. So the more people that are involved, the more help we'll be able to get these kids.
Yeah.
And if in that report they're saying 23,000 kids, I hate to say it, but you know that it's more than that.
Yeah. Of course. Always.
Because
if only 12% are reporting.
Exactly.
Right. And that's, you know, a sexual assault. So, I mean, that maybe in the report, I didn't go down into the weeds with this, but 23,000 kids, that's a lot of kids. That's a lot.
So
10 kids is a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
Yeah.
One kid, you know.
So if somebody comes to you, whether it's a child or an adult saying, I think this child needs help, how quickly are you able to get them in place?
So I'm going to brag for a minute.
Okay.
And you should.
Because, I mean, if we're looking at, you know, the 2 years or there's 23,000, these are crazy numbers that are upsetting. And it's everywhere, I'm sure. And you guys are already making an impact. So I was just curious to just compare, you know, if someone knows to call you.
So the process is really easy. All they have to do is reach out. They can do it. They can just call, or they can go online. And you know what? Normally we do end up having a conversation. Because what we ask on the forms are not. We don't go into specifics. So, and the reason that I always want to have a conversation with someone is to make sure that that child is placed with a therapist that I think that they will immediately...
Just like that 12-year-old.
Right.
Right? Like, as soon as you said that, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think this is really important. It just shows, like, you really put that effort in. You're not just saying, okay, she definitely needs therapy. She needs this type of therapy. Oh, Jane's available. You know, Sally's available. You're literally looking, you're asking the right questions. You're literally pinpointing what that person or child needs and who would be best suitable to help them. Sorry.
I try really hard to match them. And I would have to say that the kids, I haven't had, no, that's not true. I've had 2 kids that wanted to change therapists, but that was only because that was 3-4 months into therapy and it was starting to get hard. And they were saying, you know what, I think I don't like this therapist. And what they didn't like were the feelings that were coming up. So, you know, if we can just settle them in and, you know, and if I can have a conversation with the therapist and say, look, this is what, because I'm the buffer, you know, so the parent or sometimes the kids will reach out to me, and so we can. It's a little village, you know, taking care of these kids, and you know, we're talking to the kids, we're talking to the therapists, the caregivers, the parents, the grandparents. And I'm sorry, I forgot what you.
It's
just
okay.
Said.
We're gonna toot your horn. I asked.
Oh, so I can
how quickly?
Okay. So personal best. I met a little boy on a Saturday, and by Tuesday he was in therapy. But that doesn't happen all the time. It normally takes, I would say, 2 weeks, and that's only
2 weeks versus 2 years.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It really is. I have like one more question. I just wanted to throw this out there if you don't already, but I'm sure you probably are getting started in this, is partnering up with schools. I mean, I didn't even think about it, but like police departments, you know, I mean, I'm probably not even thinking of so many, but I was curious if you, and is it welcoming, you know?
Well, we work with just about every sister agency in the county.
Okay.
They refer kids to us. We have since inception had police officers or detectives on our board. And so we do get referrals from law enforcement. Yeah. Not as many as I would like, honestly. But of course, the schools call us.
Yeah.
Because even the schools, you know, as much as they are prepared for these things, sometimes there are just cases that, you know, a guidance counselor will just call me and say, yes, she really needs a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad you guys are doing this. It's, you know, I think really my hope is to just kind of keep raising the awareness, you know. I bet there's probably more police officers out there that would want to help.
Well, we do. We have been doing this every month now. We're doing Coffee with a Cop, and we invite an officer from different departments to come over and you know, again, eat donuts with us. And
the cliche, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say.
But it's delicious.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love it?
I'm sure anybody involved in this, you're kind of probably guaranteed a good time. I mean, it's all good people wanting to help, you know. But sorry, continue.
But yeah, so
Coffee with a Cop once a month. Okay.
So we're gonna continue that. That's been really successful and really fun. And you know, we invite the community to come in and talk to the police, because there are so many misconceptions around anything mental health related. Yeah. And so I'm hoping to collaborate with the local radio station, WCHE. Okay. And what we're hoping to do is kind of illuminate all of the resources in Chester County and talk about things like, okay, so my neighbor's child was sexually assaulted, and this is what happened in their case. Why did it not happen in my child's case? So, and to have, you know, people come on to the radio station and explain why these things do or don't happen. Also to talk about insurance. Yes. Because that's this whole mysterious thing that goes on.
That's a great word.
And people don't realize why a child's light is so imperative for every community. Because if your child is on Medicaid, they're seeing a therapist. Okay, let's just use this example. So say your child is cutting 5 times a week and they have Medicaid. Medicaid can say to the therapist, I'd like to see your notes. If the child has gone from cutting 5 times per week down to saying cutting once a week.
Okay.
Well, then that's an improvement, right? And so Medicaid they can say, okay, things have improved, so we're not going to pay for this anymore. So then what? So then what happens to this child? What, do they start cutting again? Do they start having these behaviors?
Yeah. I
So
feel
that
like
they can, no, it's, and people don't realize these things, And so then it's like having a child who has an IEP in school, right? As soon as things start going well for that child, then the school goes, oh, good, they're doing really well, which is great. We want them to do well. But they're doing well because that's in place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was just going to say cutting 5 times a week down to 1. That's fantastic. It is. I mean,
Yes.
they're improving, but I feel like you're just hitting the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And you're not getting anywhere down to the root cause of it.
And
yet.
shouldn't that be up to the therapist and the client and not
Yeah.
insurance?
Yeah.
That it's so what I'm hoping to do is, invite people to come and talk about these these difficult experiences and try to explain to the public who might not know these things.
Well, and it's not something that's openly talked about.
Yes.
No one wants to hear about
Of
a 3-year-old who's had such horrible traumas, right?
Yeah.
Because it just, you sleep better at night knowing, right? And so I want to do something about it,
Yeah.
but, it's just not something that's talked about.
Yep.
And so that's why we're so grateful to be here, to have this opportunity to bring it to the table
Yeah.
and to bring awareness, because it is something that we can't reverse what happened, but we can help them move forward.
Yeah.
And
preventative, So, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of feel like this, we were talking, I'm losing my train of thought again because I am so enthralled in this, but go ahead.
Here's the thing, Jenny. It's I think that we've reached a point. I could be wrong. Maybe it's because I'm in this so closely, but there needs to be something really bold and transformative that happens regarding this emergency, because it is an emergency. It's not like, a few kids need help. We're talking 23,000 kids at least that need help.
reported kids.
And
Right.
and there needs to be a change. There does.
Well, what I finally, it came back to me was when we were talking about therapy 20, 30 years ago, being a little, we didn't really, it was kind of, people were judgy. And now it being way more welcomed, like what you guys are doing is breaking that barrier to
We hope.
getting people to be more comfortable talking about these things, because nobody wants our future, our kids.
Right. It's the future.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the thing, you look at, and not to go down this rabbit hole, but you look at these kids who have done these horrible mass school shootings. Well, why? It doesn't take long to scratch the surface and see that it's a totally dysfunctional childhood.
Yep.
And you can't ignore that. You can't say that this was a one-off incident. And why was that child ignored before it got to that critical point?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you take care of one child, and then 26 other kids' lives are saved.
Yep.
So that's what I mean. There needs to be, somebody needs to rethink this.
Yeah.
And really, instead of just, talking about it, somebody actually doing something.
I think that somebody is you.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this should be across the U.S.
Well,
Every county
maybe-
should have that.
Well, that's why we're sharing this.
Yes, and I couldn't be more grateful.
Yeah.
Really.
So, Jackie, you shared the walk that you guys had. When do you plan on making this an annual
Yes,
thing?
it was our first one,
Okay.
and it was an annual event, so we're
Okay.
hoping to do it every spring.
Every spring, okay.
And we're looking to add something else in the fall. We haven't quite decided that
Okay.
yet. The board is still working on that, but
Okay.
we'd love for anyone who is interested to join our mailing list. You just have to go to achildslight.com and sign up for our newsletter, and you'll be alerted to these in the future. Or if you want to volunteer, email us at volunteer@achildslight. We would love to have you. So,
Yeah.
or if you just have questions, reach out to us.
Yeah.
We're here
Yeah.
to answer your
Sounds
questions.
like you guys are pretty easy to talk to.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah,
we think we
I
are.
think. Yeah, I think.
So you kind of started to answer my next question, or my last question really, is how can people find you? You know, like social. I know I follow you guys on social media. So it's just a Child's Light, right?
Yeah.
Anything else, you know, website, you know, do you want to share anything else?
Sure. Well, we have a couple different emails now, but I think the easiest one is connect
Okay.
at childslight.com.
Okay.
And then people can always reach out and call or text 610-405-2968
Okay.
and get a lot of texts. And yeah, just reach out and the thing is, just don't give up. You know,
Yeah.
if you think that there's a problem, probably there is, and better to address it now.
I was just going to say, what's the harm in sending you a text?
Right.
I'm pretty sure if something's not going on, one, that's great news. And two, you're only going to commend them for checking to
Right.
make sure.
Right,
Right?
for sure. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I had a grandpa reach out to me a couple of weeks ago, and he was upset because his granddaughter, who he's raising, she was on her phone, and he got nervous. She was on TikTok or something. But we were talking, and he was telling me all the other things that he has her involved in, all these sports, all these church things. And I think that he just needed to hear, it's okay. She's 11. You can't keep her in a bubble.
We always want to keep our kids in a little bubble.
Yes. And, he just wanted to talk through it. And really, he's doing this on his own.
Yeah.
And I was more than happy to take the time to talk to him and tell him what an incredible job he's doing.
Yeah.
Because he was,
Yeah.
But if he had needed help,
Yeah.
he would have had it in a week.
Yeah. Oh, I believe
sure.
it now. Yeah. So I guess that was just what I was trying to drive home. Like, there's no harm in checking.
No.
No. So,
The harm is not doing anything. That's always the harm.
Yeah. If you even have that little feeling
Yeah.
in your gut,
Yeah.
just call or
Yeah.
text.
Right.
Yeah.
You
It's
guys
easy.
make it so easy.
Yeah. We'll try.
You guys are doing a great job. Thank you for getting it started. Thank you for helping.
Yeah, and I would also like to just add this, while we work with children, and that's our priority, if you're listening to this and you're someone who has experienced childhood trauma and you're an adult, it's not too late to get help.
That's
Reach
so
out.
important.
There are resources, for you as well. So, start doing the work. Like, don't be afraid to take that first step, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel like, oh, all this time has passed.
Right.
Yep.
How is someone going to help me now? There's hope. There is help for you.
Yep.
Take a step.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's a really good point.
Yep.
You guys, thank you so much for coming on.
No,
And,
thanks for having us.
I really
Again.
appreciate everything that you guys do.
Well,
because
appreciate
you
it.
literally are a huge impact on so many lives. So
I appreciate
And
it.
it's beautiful to see. I mean, and Leslie has just she's spearheaded it all, and she works so many hours ensuring that all these kids are very well taken care of. And it's just so much in awe of her.
yeah,
So
it clearly shows.
She's too kind.
Yeah. Well, she's pretty great too. So thanks again, guys.
of course.
Thank you.